Destiny's been kind of a weird thing where when Destiny first launched, it did pretty well. After it was out, a lot of people lost faith in it for a long time because it just made a bunch of really bad decisions. And then
Mm.
finally, by the time they got to their final expansion or the final two expansions on the original game, they'd won back a new audience. Some people had returned, some people were brand new and hadn't been there since the beginning, but they had a pretty good reputation in the at the end of Destiny 1. And then when Destiny 2 came out, they just 180'd a lot of the decisions that fixed some of the issues in the first
Y-
Destiny. And
Okay.
so when the second one came out, a lot of people jumped back in and then we're like, wait, you guys are just making all the same mistakes again. And so a lot of people didn't come back. And then their expansions, some of them have been up, some of them have been down, but the most recent expansion was a pretty low point and they lost a lot of player retention. So a lot of the players were like, we are not satisfied with the way things are going. We are not happy with a lot of the decisions being made. And even a lot of the choices that Bungie does on a not necessarily game development side, but more like a PR side. For example, if they're picking certain causes that they want to champion, and they say, oh, we really believe strongly in this, or we really believe strongly in that on social media, a lot of times they'll come out and they'll say one thing for one group, and then some people are like, hey, this group needs recognition. We want to recognize that. And Bungie's like, just remain silent. And so at times it seemed a little bit tone deaf with where they're like, oh, we're gonna do this, and then the audience is like, oh, hey, we want you to talk about this issue or this cause, and they just don't, or they even come out and say, no, we don't agree with that, and we're never going to do that. I don't think they've done anything for this recent Palestine-Israel conflict kind of thing, but it would be the kind of thing where they would pick a side, and in certain instances they would pick a side, and that's going to maybe make part of the player base happy, but it's going to alienate the other side. And so they would make a decision like that, and they would make a hard decision. And so because they pick that side, and then because they pick something like that, and then maybe you get something like, say, Russia and Ukraine or something like that. These are examples. These are not actually things they did, but it would be like you might pick a side in the Russian Ukraine thing, and then you champion it, and you're like, oh yeah, we believe in this, and then the next thing comes along like Israel and Gaza, and then they say, oh no, we're not touching that. And it's why did you bother touching this other one? But this other one, they have a habit of alienating people quite often on that end. I think that was partially caused some dissatisfaction among the player base as well. But
We can only hope for them that the next extension is gonna be selling like hotcakes and gonna fix their mistakes.
a lot of people were hyping up the newest expansion, so it looked like maybe because the previous one had not been good, so a lot of people were looking forward to it, and I think the fact that it got delayed is actually causing a lot of people to lose faith in a bit. It's causing a lot of people where they're like, "Oh, what are you guys doing over there?" That's the other thing too is I saw, for instance, one of the people who had been laid off. Some of them have worked in art, some of them have worked in the music, I think. But there was one person who posted on it and they were really mad. And a lot of people went in and said, I'm canceling my pre order for this expansion as a show of solidarity for the people. Hey, you can't do this to people. But the irony is that by doing that, you're the people who are still there are now under threat because the thing that has become even less profitable. So a lot of the people who have been laid off have said things like, "Hey, don't cancel your pre-orders and that sort of thing because we still have a lot of friends at Bungie. This is not the lower level people who are it's the lower level people who are suffering, but it's the higher level people making these decisions. When you cut the costs or when you don't pre-order or you cancel pre-orders, the higher ups, they're not going to take a cut out of their paycheck. They're going to fire more low level people. Don't do that because you're not going to hurt the people you want to hurt. You're going to hurt more people like us. Don't do that. We worked hard. Our friends have worked hard. Continue to support. If maybe don't support Bungie in the future, but if you've already done it, we've already done the work on that and whatnot. So don't necessarily do this.